Good morning. Good morning, everyone. It's good to have you all here this morning for 11/11 celebration on July 12th. It's good to have you here as we continue our series to tell the truth, stories make our world. And we have just some fun stuff happening today as well. So it's a good Sunday to be here. And a good friend of mine, DC Cornish storyteller, Urban Griot, a local historian. He's going to be sharing some fun stuff with us and some inspiring stuff. So I'll tell you more about him in a minute. And then also we can go ahead and say hello to Buddy Whittington this morning. It's good to have Buddy with us.
Good to be here, y'all. Good to see you.
And Buddy's going to kick it off here in just a moment with a great song. So it's so good to have you all worshiping with us. If you're visiting, actually everyone register your attendance. Of course, as usual, we'll bring that slip up here at the first song we sing together with our offering. But if you are visiting with us, we especially would love for you to fill that out, and we'll keep you informed of what's happening here with 1111. And then also, if you're a first-time visitor with us, the band would love for you to have one of their CDs, which you can get from Austin in the back, and Austin can raise his hand, and you can all look back there and see Austin raise his hand because it's also his birthday today. Yeah, Austin's turned 22 today. He's no, yeah. He just looks so much younger than me. Also on the back, you'll see a couple other announcements I want to draw your attention to, that we will also have Elizabeth Ellis here in 2 weeks. She'll be our third speaker in this series, 2 Sundays from today. And then the improv group that we're starting, we now have about 10 to 12 folks lined up for this, and we have others that are still interested. We're going to start it in the second or third Sunday. It'll be, at this point, we're looking at a Sunday afternoon. Just some details to work out. But if you are interested, it's going to be a lot of fun. We're just going to have fun. We've got a couple of people who, one person, a graduate from the 4-day weekend school, who's also in a couple of troops herself, is going to help and lead us and facilitate, as well as myself and Chuck Chandler. So if you want to be a part of that, let me know. Contact the church office, leave a number, name with me, and we'll keep you informed on that. That's a couple of weeks. And then the other thing that I might suggest, what else do I have to announce? I think that's it. Can you think of anything else? Oh, we're thinking of starting up a group of folks who want to do some cycling on Saturday mornings. If you're interested in that, let me know. We're going to try to start doing that in the next 2 Saturdays. So, bicycling, it's wonderful weather out there. At 8 o'clock, it's like 90. It's nice. It's wonderful out there. So you'll have fun. You'll enjoy it. All right, I think that's it for now. It's so good to have everybody here. Let's start off our worship.
You may slip, you may slide, might stumble and fall by the roadside, but don't you ever let nobody try and drag your spirit down. Remember, you're walking on up to heaven. Don't let nobody push you around. Walk with the rich, walk with the poor. Learn from everybody, that's what life is for. But don't you ever let nobody try and drag your spirit down. Just keep on walking on up to heaven. Don't let nobody turn you around. I might say things that might sound strange to you. I might preach the gospel, Lord, I believe it's true. But don't you ever let nobody try and drag your spirit down. Just keep on walking on up to heaven. Don't let nobody turn you around. Learn from everybody, that's what life is for. But don't you ever let nobody try and drag your spirit down. Remember, you're walking on up to heaven. Don't let nobody turn you around. You may slip, you may slide, might stumble and fall by the roadside. But don't you ever let nobody try and drag your spirit down. Remember, you're walking on up to heaven. Don't let nobody turn you around. Remember, you're walking on up to heaven. Don't let nobody turn you around.
Well, that and a bit of barbecue, and we've had church. We're good. We're all good to go. So I love that. It was I thought about this song. It's so good to have Buddy, and then just to let the band do all their thing. It's so nice to have everybody get a chance to be featured. But that song, I think about walking our way up to heaven. Don't let nobody drag your spirit down. How do we walk with one another in such ways that we don't let our spirits drag each other down or let someone else drag ours down? Walking with each other. Let's all stand as we open up with our invocation. Let's pray. Holy One, for this chance to be community together, for this chance to walk with one another, no matter who we are, no matter what our stories are, no matter where we come from, we realize there's one story at the heart of all stories, and that's the story of your kingdom. May we walk in the midst of that as we walk with one another. For that and for the music and for DC and for all of our chance to be together this morning, we give you thanks. Amen. So as we're opening up with this great song, I invite you to join in. And if you have an offering, bring it forward while we're singing. Bring your registration forward.
Sing with us, please. I'm gonna lay down my burden down by the riverside. Down by the riverside. Down by the riverside. Gonna lay down my burden down by the riverside. Ain't gonna study war no more. 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 See, I'm gonna lay down my guilt and shame down by the riverside. Down by the riverside, down by the riverside, gonna lay down my guilt and shame. Down by the riverside, gonna study war no more. Yes, I ain't gonna study war no more. 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 I'm gonna face the impossible. Down by the riverside, see, down by the riverside, down by the riverside. I'm gonna face the impossible. Down by the riverside, I'm gonna study war no more. I ain't gonna study war no more. Ain't gonna study war no more. Sure ain't gonna study war no more. Ain't gonna study war gonna study war no more. Ain't 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 gonna study war no more. All right. Take a moment, offer one of the signs of peace, would you please?
So I want to just introduce to you our speaker this morning, D.C. Cornish, who's been an active storyteller, professionally involved in storytelling for, I don't know how long, D.C., 20 years, thereabouts, way back when I got started too. And D.C. was a part of that early community and has since been moving all about and doing some amazing things. I want to just highlight a couple of things about D.C. and the kind of impact that he has on our community. D.C. not only has served as a veteran in the Vietnam War, but D.C. has also been actively involved for the last 16 years with the Tarrant Community College, working with special programs for youth for almost 16 years, thereabouts, doing some pretty significant stuff with kids in our community. He's also been active with teaching courses out there. He's also on the touring roster for the Texas Commission of Arts, which is a juried kind of thing, so it's not easy for artists to get on that, and travels around the U.S. and country with that as well. And then also just he was recently given the Live Theater Award from the Fort Worth Arts Council for his involvement with Pantagles Theater. You might have also been fortunate enough to see him on one of the Stage West Storyteller Circle nights. They do that every quarter, I believe it is, and he's been on that circuit for a couple of times. You got to see Donna Ingham a few weeks ago, and of course we celebrate Donna for being a great liar, and she did the whole Tall Tales thing, but it's also important that you understand that D.C. currently, I believe, holds the Biggest Liar in Texas award as well. So I don't know, I'm pretty sure we're going to get a little more fact and history today, but he also has that. It's a very diverse individual and an interesting person, and I hope you get a chance to visit with him also afterwards, see what he's got on his stole. There's so many stories that he carries about with him. But this morning, we're glad to hear what he has to bring us. Let's welcome Mr. D.C. Cornish.
Slide this down a little bit. What's up? Y'all look so serious. Lighten up, man. It's only church. I'm D.C. Cornish, and I tell stories. And the first thing I want to do is give a shout out to my brother JT over there. Where's JT? Raise your hand up, JT. JT and I work together with veterans that are suffering from PTSD. We've been doing classes and things like that lately, and he's the only one made it, so thank you, JT, for coming. And then my little brother right there, Fred, and he's my buddy. I have to give him a shout out too. I'm so glad he came all the way from San Angelo to make sure I got this right. Okay. Burdens down, Lord. Burdens down, Lord. I'm gonna lay my burdens down. Burdens down, Lord. Burdens down, Lord. I'm gonna lay my burdens burdens down. My friends don't treat me like they used to since I laid my burdens down. My friends don't treat me like they used to since I laid my burdens down. Oftentimes we lay our burdens down. And when we lay our burdens down, it gives us a freedom that comes, that is unique and special. But sometimes we can't. Sometimes we carry them around all the way into different things. And I told Tom one day, I said, Tom, you know what? We was talking about church and religion, different things, and I'm a Baptist. That's right, I'm a Baptist. You can't sprinkle us. We got to be dunked. Matter of fact, we had one cat in our church. He was so bad to everybody in church. His name was John. I'm sorry. His name was, oh boy, if he finds out I tell this story, he's going to kill me. But his name was John Henry Bird. He was the son of the superintendent of Sunday school, Sister Emma Bird. And John Henry was growing up. He was a straight-up Fifth Ward thug. For those of you that don't know anything about Houston, Texas, where I grew up, Fifth Ward is a really rough neighborhood. And John Henry was the toughest dude in Fifth Ward. He was one of them type of brothers who would hit you, boom, yeah, what, fool? This was John Henry, man. And I'll never forget, John Henry came up and one Sunday he was like, you know, they always open the doors of the church, and all of a sudden he walked down the center aisle and everybody was like, oh my God, what's going on? John Henry finna rob the preacher. He said, I want to be baptized. Well, I'm gonna tell you, 3-4 women in the front row just fainted dead over when they heard that. And so John Henry came up, man, and I'll never forget, that Sunday the church was full, just like this room was full, and they was up there, man, they took him up to the baptismal pool. The preacher got in there, and he had on them waders you wear when you go trout fishing. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And he dunked John Henry. He said, one splash for the Father, splash for the Son, splash for the Holy Ghost. And the whole congregation jumped up and went, dunk him one more time. The Lord don't know him like we do. That was John Henry, man. You know, and see, but John Henry finally came and laid his burden down. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes we learn things from kids. We learn things from kids. And I didn't always have the kind of relationship I wanted with my daughter when she was young, because I was on the road and her mother was on the road and different things. And I'll never forget one of the things, you find as a man, you learn your priorities many ways. I was at my daughter's graduation, and she'd gone to this really fancy private school, and there wasn't a whole lot of black people there. So I got me one of them real fancy suits that came from Wedgwood Village, right there off of Illinois in Dallas, back in the old days when Michael Irvin and Deion Sanders and all of them was playing for the Dallas Cowboys. So I went over there and I got me a suit designed by Deion Sanders. I went to my daughter's graduation in Tucson, Arizona, and I'm walking around, man, I'm introducing myself. How you doing? How you doing? I'm Amber's dad. That's my daughter's name, Amber. I'm Amber's dad. I'm Amber's dad. Well, I'm going around introducing myself, and her kids in the school had never met me. And so I'm introducing myself and everything. And so we going along, and then all of a sudden, I'm standing there, and I'm looking good in my suit, you know, my iridescent blue suit, you know, with all the shiny buttons and everything. And then one of the little boys come over and goes, who is that? And the other little boy goes, that's Amber's dad. He's a pimp from Dallas. So I'm standing there, I don't know what to say. You know, I'm standing, I'm like, But fortunately, my daughter came to my rescue. She came and she grabbed my hand and she started running around and reintroducing me to everybody. Hi, this is my father. He's a writer and a storyteller. Hi, this is my father. He's a writer and a storyteller. She finally got to the principal and said, hi, this is my father. He's a writer and a storyteller. And the principal looked at her and said, well, what does he write? And her mind went blank for a minute. Then she said, checks. That's when I truly came to understand the place I had in my daughter's life. Where you stand in life and how you get to that point, sometimes the greatest heroes in life go unheralded. I'm going to share you a story about a woman from right here in Fort Worth. Her name was Essie Sturgis. Essie Sturgis was, how many of y'all ever heard of Rosa Parks? Raise your hand real quick. Put your hands down. Her name was Essie Sturgis. Essie Sturgis lived in a mythical place called Texas, in a strange, magical city called Fort Worth, in a little-known community called Como. Essie Sturgis lived in Como. Now, she'd done many, many jobs in her time. And doing the different jobs that she had done, she'd been a maid more times than many. She'd worked as a cook, and she cleaned houses and different things. And she just did anything she could to make money. And she took care and raised most of her kids, and she was a good mother. Her kids was all grown and out on their own now, but she still had to work. And she got one of the best jobs she ever had. She went to work for one of them high-tone professors at a faraway college called Texas Christian University. And what she would do is they didn't have bus service in Como so she would have to walk down the street in Como until she got to Camp Bowie Boulevard. Now, Camp Bowie Boulevard was called Camp Bowie Boulevard because it led to Camp Bowie. See, it wasn't that fancy naval station we got out there now, and it wasn't Carswell Air Force Base. Back then, it was Camp Bowie Army Artillery Range and Training Center. Como was at the end of the artillery range. So if you lived in Como, every now and then you'd be... yeah. Well, that was just the luck of the draw, And she would walk from there. Now, when she would walk up until she could get on the bus, and she got on the bus, and when she got on the bus, she could sit anywhere she wanted to on that bus that the military guys rode. Because, see, not too far from here was a mythical place called Killeen. And Killeen was a man by the name of Jackie Robinson. Jackie Robinson had gotten on a bus, a military bus. And on that military bus, he was sitting next to a woman that was mistaken for a white woman. The bus driver got up and accused him of many different things and called him all kind of bad names. And he went to a court martial. A man by the name of Thurgood Marshall, who was a young lawyer for the newly founded NAACP, came down and defended Robinson. And they integrated the military buses. So when she got on the bus up there, she could sit anywhere she wanted to. And that was cool. But when she got to where she had to get off the bus, because the bus basically took soldiers from Camp Bowie to the bus station downtown Fort Worth. And when she passed by the intersection right there where Camp Bowie crosses into University Boulevard, she had to get off the military bus and get on the regular bus. Now, when she got on the regular bus, it had a line right down the middle. Because once upon a time in this great country we live in, there was a ideology and a principle that was given to us by the Supreme Court called separate but equal. But the Supreme Court don't always get everything right. That's a story for another day. And they said separate was equal. Separate ain't gonna never be equal until we share the same opportunities, the same, how can I say this? We have to share the same joys and happiness, sadness, and sorrow. That is when we have true equality. When we share all those things, not just the good, but the bad. But they decided separate was equal, so they put the line in the center right there real quick. And so as it got on, she paid her money, and she went and she sat where she always sat, right there at the first seat behind the line. And she was riding along. She wasn't bothering nobody. Now, as she got a little closer, University Boulevard didn't look like it does today back then. And there was actually houses of people that lived in that area. And the bus stopped, and up came a woman with her little girl. The woman came up, and the bus driver opened the door, and the little girl got on, and the woman told the bus driver what she wanted to do, what she wanted him to do. And he said, yes, ma'am. And he took the money, and he closed the door, and he pulled off, and the little girl started walking up and down the aisle the way little girls walk. Up and down the aisle, until finally Essie just leaned over and said, baby, what's the matter? The little girl looked up at Essie and said, I want to sit by a window. What? I want to sit by a window. You want to sit by the window? Well, come on, baby, you can sit by the window. And Essie slid over, and the little girl did what little girls do. She climbed right over Essie. Back then, the windows on the bus were let down, so the window was down, and she got there, and she stuck her head out the window, looked like one of them Cocker Spaniels, y'all know right? They riding along, you know. And Essie sitting there, the little girl got her head stuck out the window, and they riding on the bus, and ain't nobody bothering nobody. But people is getting on the bus. Some people get on the bus, and they pay their money, and they sit in the front of the line. Some people pay their money, and they get on the bus, and they sit in the back. And they're going along, and then finally, a couple of fellas get on the bus. When they get on the bus, they kind of look, and then they sit next to each other, and they start talking back and forth. And then one of them gets up, and he walks up, and he taps the bus driver on the shoulder, and he whispers something in his ear, and the bus driver reaches up, and he adjusts the rearview mirror. He looks at the fella and nods his head. He pulls the bus over, and when he pulls the bus over, he walks back over, and he stands, and he looks at Essie and says, you got to move. Essie looked up and went, I paid my money. I'm sitting where I'm supposed to, and I ain't bothering nobody. Well, I can't have this on my bus. You got to move. I paid my money. I'm sitting where I'm supposed to, and I ain't bothering nobody. Well, I can't have this on my bus. You're going to have to move. I paid my money. I'm sitting where I'm supposed to, and I ain't bothering nobody. He said, well, I ain't having this on my bus. And that's when he reached over and he grabbed the little girl. Well, when he grabbed the little girl held onto the window. She said, I want to sit by the window. And he kept pulling at the little girl. I want to sit by the window. I want to sit by the window. And he kept pulling at her, leaning over Essie, pulling at the little girl. And then finally the little girl went to swinging at him like this because he pulled one arm free and she was holding on with one arm and she was swinging like this here. I want to sit by the window. I want to sit by the window. And that's when he jerked her real good and the little girl went, ah! And that's when Essie's maternal instincts kicked in. If y'all don't understand the word maternal, that means she started acting like a mama. Essie jumped up and she pushed that fella. She said, you leave that child alone. And that's when he said, sit down, old woman. And he pushed her down. And you don't never put your hands on a woman. Because Essie did what most women would do. She went to windmilling. Man, next thing you know, Essie went to windmilling like that. He grabbed it, he tried to push her down, and then she went to kicking, and she kicked to the left, she kicked to the right, and then all of a sudden she scored. He hollered like an old booger bat, oh, and he fell over. Now, when he hollered like that and he fell over, folks in the front jumped up and started running to the back. Folks in the back jumped up and started running to the front. But before either one of those elements of confusion could contact each other, there was a sound beating on the side of the door. Boom, 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 boom. Right there on the outside the bus stop. They looked over and it was the Fort Worth police. They pulled up to see why the bus was sitting on the side of the road. Somebody opened the door and they ran inside and they started talking. And they looked over and they grabbed Essie and they took her to jail. They took her to jail. Essie didn't have no money to get out of jail. And back then, everybody didn't have a cell phone. So she spent the night in jail. Next day, there was going to be an arraignment. That's where the judge looks at you and tells you what he got planned for you. And so Essie was standing at the arraignment. While Essie was standing at the arraignment, the judge came forward, and there was 4 or 5 other people there, and she went through all of them. Finally, he said, Essie Sturgis? She stood up and said, yes, Your Honor, that's me. She said, okay, let's see what we got going on here with you, Essie. Ooh, disturbing the peace, inciting a riot, assault and battery of a public servant? You've been busy, Miss Sturgis. Do you have anything to say for yourself? Yes, Your Honor. I paid my money. I was sitting where I was supposed to, and I wasn't bothering nobody. But that's not what I have written here, and the witness is sitting right there. I don't care. I paid my money. I was sitting where I was supposed to, and I wasn't bothering nobody. Well, do you have anything else you'd like to say? That's about it, Your Honor. Well, based on what the witnesses said and what the accused here said and what I have here on this paper, I'm ready to rule. And then that's when somebody was sitting in the gallery. That's the folk that sit around and watch you like on Judge Judy. Stood up and said, Your Honor, may I speak? Do you have something that's pertinent to the issue in front of me right now? Yes, sir, Your Honor, I was on that bus. He said, well, come on up. He came up and he started talking. He looked and he said, are you sure are you sure? That's what you saw? Not only me, but there's some other folk here that was on that bus too. And they stood up. And it was folk that had sat in the front and the back of that bus that stood up in that courtroom. And they all swore that exactly what that man told them had happened was true. Well, the judge told him to sit down. Thank y'all for y'all's testimony. I'm still ready to rule. And he hit that old gavel on that old big rock. He got him pop. He leaned over and he said, Essie Sturgis, on the charge of disturbing the peace, I find you guilty. And citing the riot, I find you guilty as well, because you did start a ruckus. But on the charge of the assault and battery of a public servant, I find you not guilty. And you lucky fella, because if I was on that bus, I'd have let you have it too. I find Essie Sturgis, court costs, full total penalty to be paid $2. Boom. Essie didn't even have $2. But one of them fellas that got up in that gallery and he took off his hat and they passed the hat right there in that courtroom in Fort Worth, Texas. And when they finished passing that hat, Essie had enough money to pay for her fine and get her a nice taxi cab ride back to Como. Essie took her stand right here in Fort Worth, Texas in 1949. Many, many years before Rosa Parks took her stand. And I think Essie didn't make it into the history books because she didn't quite handle it in the same dignified manner as Rosa did. Essie handled it the way my mama would. And for that, I gotta love her. Because every now and then we have to, well, lay down our burdens, take a stand. I learned one thing before I go, and I'm going to share this with you. Don't take but a minute. I learned that there's 3 keys to spirituality. You got to worship God, love people, and use things. You get them in any order other than that, and it just ain't right. Thank y'all for listening.
D.C. Cornish, thank you. I think that deserves another one. I hope that afterwards you all will stick around and go visit with DC a little bit because of the story. That was just a nice surprise story too at the beginning. It wasn't one we had talked about. That was awesome. DC is just chock full of stories, wonderful stories. I want us to read a scripture together and then to say a little word before I invite Lori and Shelley to come up and share their song. But this passage is actually something I'm going to speak on next week, but it fits so well with this morning that I thought we might read it together. Passage from the Gospel of John, and let's all read together. Jesus said to the gathered crowd, "You're tied down to the mundane. I'm in touch with what is beyond your familiar horizons. You live in terms of what you see and touch. I'm living on other terms. I told you that you were missing God in all this. You're at the dead end. If you won't believe I am who I say I am, you're at the dead end of what is possible. You're missing God in your lives." They said to him, "Just who are you anyway?" Then Jesus said, "Why do I even speak to you?" Then he turned to the Jews who had claimed to believe in him. "If you stick with this, living out of God's love, you are my disciples for sure. Then you will experience for yourselves the truth, and the truth will free you." Shelley, y'all come on up, you and Lori and whoever's helping out here. So Lori Dreyer, many of y'all know Shelley Huffman, Lori Dreyer, and they joined our church. Wonderful couple. They both, we didn't know about Shelley. We found out about Shelley's amazing voice. And so we're real fortunate to have them do it as a duet this morning. I heard this song by accident, just like we've done in the past several weeks. I just happened to run across a posting that Shelley had that Lori had posted, and I heard she and Shelley do this duet, and I thought, oh my gosh, the song is perfect. And then Brad asked him to do it, so thank you all very much. And we'll just let this be sort of our song to set us in that place for prayer.
Where we are going, oh, there's healing, sweet soothing. Life is humble, and folks aren't driven by material things. We're on our way there,
Y'all can stay. I'm gonna get the rest of the band to come on up as well. Thank you, both of y'all.
Thank you.
So I want us to have just a little bit of an extended time of prayer and Kairos time, that time where we sort of forget about where we, to use DC's terms, where we lay our burdens down to be present in this moment. So I invite you to close your eyes with me, to find whatever way it allows you to just let go of things and to just be here this moment. Maybe take several deep breaths, slowly bring them in and slowly let them out. And these moments, these Kairos moments, these times where we can literally stop the linear nature, the logical moment after moment nature of our lives, to be present and listening. Just to think for a moment what it would be like, the ways that we do, the ways that we might learn to live our lives out of that grace, that we might live life in such a way that the stories we tell, that the lives we lead and live become the stories that empower others, that connect others to God's joy, to God's peace, to the grace that is at the heart of all of our lives. Holy One, there are many ways that we find ourselves busy, preoccupied, that we judge ourselves, that we judge others, that we define one another in ways that tend to build more fences than bridges, that tend to build more walls than open up. Holy One, we operate so many times in our lives, so many moments out of our lives, we operate in the context of our fears. But the message of your love is one that reminds us we are connected, that reminds us there are truths that bind us one to another that we often fail to see, where we all come from, where you invite us to, moment after moment, to be in the presence of grace and the presence of possibility, to make a difference in our lives and in one another. And so for grace, and so for the moments, and so for the beauty that is always around us, in the challenges and in those predictably easy and almost taken for granted moments. In the midst of all of that, we live in grace. And because of that, we have a story to tell, one of life. We give thanks in the name of the one in whom we move and live and have our being. Amen.
Tell me a tale, always was. Sing me a song that I'll always be. Tell me a story that I can read. Tell me a story that I believe. Paint me a picture that I can see. Touch that I can feel. Turn me around so I can be was meant to be. Lord, I need love. Lord, I need good, good love. Lord, I need love. Lord, I need good, good love. Show me some strength that I can use. Give me a sound that I won't refuse. Tell me a story that I can read. Tell me a story that I can believe. Tell me a tale that always was. Sing me a song that I'll always be in. Turn me around so I can be everything I was meant to be. Lord, I need love. Oh, I need good, good love. Lord, I need love. Lord, I need good, good love. Lord, I need love. Lord, I need good, good love. Lord, I need love. Lord, I need good, 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 good love.
Well, sometimes, as we say with storytelling, we let the stories speak for themselves and we let the music speak for itself. And I hope you heard something connecting to your own story this morning. We all need a little bit of the good love, and we all need to recognize the story that God gives us, a place we can connect and make a difference. So I hope you were inspired this morning. I want to thank D.C. Cornish again for being with us. And I want to thank Buddy Whittington for being with us as well. And then we have young Decker over here on the trombone on his second visit with us. Band. I don't know about you, but I'm inspired every time I come here on Sunday morning. It was a good morning. Let's all stand together as we have a blessing, and then I invite you to join in our song at the end. Stick around and visit with one another. Come over and say a few words to DC before you leave. Let's hold hands if we can. Let's have a blessing. Holy One, send us from this place. Remind us of the tale that we're a part of. Remind us of the song in which we are connected with this grace, with this good loving. We all need it. We all deeply, deeply need it. No matter where we stand on any side of any fence or any issue, at our hearts, we know, at the core, we all need that good loving. May we be that story for one another. May we be that lyric. Bless us as we go from this place. Amen.
Sing with us, please. Here it goes. Don't worry about a thing. Oh, no. Every little thing is gonna be alright.
That's high.
Don't worry about a thing. Every little thing
Sundays. Yeah, we'll have.